Feeling some interesting energy this day. We've got 130 of you in the room so far. Lots of you who I know. Nice to see you, Eric. Alex, nice to see you here. I didn't know you'd show up. Nikki, what you doing here? This is great. Hello, Sky. Bron. Oh, this is great. And people I don't know. Cliff, nice to see you, man. Long time no see. Okay, let's do this. I love to have a bit of energy coming my way before I begin. So I'm going to say, hey, let's unmute for a moment and send some energy into the room. Bring yourself into the room, whether you just say hi or you give us a lot of energy. Hey, gang. Hi, hi.
Hello, everyone. Friday. Hope everybody's doing well. Friday. Oh, good to be here.
That feels good, gang. Will you put into the chat, where are you in the world? Where are you in the world? Let's see where you are. And it's nice to see Chrissy wrote, been a while since these 8 a.m. calls. You know what? During lockdown, man, every single day for months, I was doing calls with members of my community. Every single month, I was doing calls with my wider community. Let's see who's in the room. Up to 174 people so far. Let's see. We've got Hertfordshire in England, Mumbai in India, Ireland, another India, Denver. Let's see, Colorado, New Zealand, more Colorado, Costa Rica, Sweden. I love it. Got the whole world represented here. Madrid, Toronto, not so sunny Los Angeles. I'm with you. Phoenix, Arizona, Silverstone Golf Club. Hi, Helen. I know you're doing an experience for your clients. I'm glad you're here. We got Canada, more England, the Netherlands, Texas, New York, Germany, more India, New Mexico, Texas, more Canada, Switzerland, Vancouver. Okay, this is nice. This is great to see. Almost 200 people so far. You know what? I don't like to mess around. So I want to begin straight away. I'm not one of those people who like to wait around till 15 more minutes. You guys just hang on in there. People are coming. You're here, so let's begin. In a moment, I will tell you my intention for the call. But what I want to do first of all is give you an invitation. First of all, my name's Rich Litvin. And if you didn't know that, you're probably on the wrong call. So I'm guessing you have a sense of who I am. But I want to begin with a story. And before I tell you the story, I want to tell you this. Clients pay me, when you work it out per hour, it's sometimes $10,000 an hour, $20,000 an hour for the work they do with me. So my invitation to you is this. If you spend this next hour with me, imagine you've invested $20,000 for this hour of time. If you had invested this $20,000 to spend this hour with me, how would you show up? You probably wouldn't be checking Facebook with half an ear to what I say. I'm pretty sure you'd be very present right now. So what would you need to do to get a little bit more present in this moment? Would you need to sit up a little bit straighter? Would you need to turn Facebook off in the background? Would you need to tell the kids, hey, give mommy another 30 minutes because I want to be present for this? Maybe like Helen, you need to stand up and stretch so you get in your body and you're fully present. But I would like you to imagine that you've invested $20,000 to be here, because many of my clients do, for the same kind of stories I'm going to bring to you, for the same kind of answers I'm going to bring to you. Show up as if you'd invested $20,000 and watch what happens to your insights, to your learnings, to the actions that you take as a result. That alone is priceless. If you put the phone down now, put Zoom down now and walk away, you've got everything you need to do already to create extraordinary clients, because I am creating you as extraordinary clients right now. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to read a story to you. It's not even my own story. Sometimes we worry, I haven't got stories like Rich does. This story I'm going to model, I'm going to read it to you because I love this story. It's not even my own. Now, you can switch off, because in story time, we go back to being a kid and you can switch off and pay attention to something else. Or you can say, there's probably a reason he's telling this story. I wonder what it is. And I promise you, I'm reading this story to you right now. Yeah, to you. And it's your job to listen and pay attention to hear why this story is meaningful to you right now. How this story will help you create clients in a way that you've never done before. How this story will help you turn goals that look impossible into a reality in a way that wasn't possible before you heard the story. So, as we say before all good stories, are you feeling comfortable? Then I'll begin. When Ridley Scott, the film director, got the financing to make Blade Runner, it wasn't as much as he wanted. The Hollywood studio back then didn't believe in it as much as he did, so they cut costs. Ridley wanted to build a futuristic Los Angeles set for the movie, but all the studio would give him was an existing backlot, part of a generic 1920s town they had built ages ago, an unused set where they used to shoot gangster movies during Prohibition times. But gangster movies have fallen out of fashion, and the buildings and streets on the set were decayed and peeling. And Ridley looked at it and wondered what to do. He felt insulted. The studio clearly didn't take his film seriously. What were his options? He could tell the studio to shove it, but if he did that, it would almost certainly be the end of the movie and probably the end of his film career in Hollywood too. So what could he do? How does he shoot a futuristic science fiction film about mutant robots in a set that was designed for black and white films about gangsters? Ridley thought it over. And he thought, the future is never going to be simply about the future. The future isn't just about brand new buildings and brand new cars and brand new everything. The future is always about the latest things overlaid on what came before. He thought, I could overlay the future onto this set from the past. Then he added shiny aluminum piping to the outside of the buildings. And he added neon signs to the outside of the buildings and people in futuristic plastic clothes carrying neon umbrellas and traveling airships with massive outdoor TV screens. And all these futuristic props were overlaid on the grungy old buildings. They just emphasized how the future always elbows the past aside. But it did something much more important. Because of all the neon, Ridley decided to shoot the movie at night. The neon would show up much better in the dark, but it would also throw all the buildings into the background. To increase the effect, he'd shoot in the rain, giving the movie the feel of a deserted and bypassed planet Earth. Perfect for a story about returning mutant robots looking for their history. And the set did something even more important than that. The cumulative effect was to give the entire movie an all-pervading, dark, ominous, threatening, sinister mood. It launched an entirely new genre of filmmaking, noir science fiction. Blade Runner became the movie that Ridley Scott says he is most proud of. Since its release, it's won over 40 awards worldwide, been reissued in 7 different versions. It is considered a masterpiece. After Blade Runner, Ridley Scott's career took off. He went on to make massively successful movies, many of them. He's been knighted in the UK, and in a recent Hollywood poll, he was voted one of the most important directors in the world because he took a problem and turned it into an opportunity. What do you get for you? Why was I telling you that story? What do you need from that story for whatever you're creating next? Why was that story the reason you're on this call, that if you got cut off now, you've got everything you needed to know already? Put that into the chat. Helen wrote, the future elbows the past aside. Hakeem wrote, the obstacle is the way. Eric, nothing's ever perfect. Helena, there's always a way forward. Asma, all the answers are within me. Just need to use a different lens. Lisa, stay open to the possibility with a free and creative mind. And Deborah, create with what you have. Love the insights you've got, guys. So let me tell you something that happened to me in real time as I was reading that story. You may have noticed that the recording came on about two-thirds of the way through that story. So at the beginning of this call, I noticed that we weren't recording, but I know we're using some new software right now called StreamYard, I think. So some of you are watching on Zoom, you're with me live, but some of you are on our Facebook, some of you are on LinkedIn. And I assumed, oh, the team have got this. We don't need to record this. And when I saw the record button be hit, I thought, oh no, we screwed up. Apparently we were supposed to be recording here. And now half the story that I've just told is missing. And so the human part of me was pissed. As I'm reading that story, I'm trying to pay attention to the story and be there with you and let go of this story in the background. And of course, I realized, oh, I'm not even reading this story for you. I'm reading it for me. Because if anybody watches the recording later, they're going to come into half a story and wonder what happened. And they're going to hear me telling this and realize, even now in this moment, things go wrong and we handle them. And maybe the best thing that could have ever happened is that you guys were here on time, so you got to hear the whole story. But the people who weren't got to see the screw up and the insights that I'm even having from that. How do you turn a problem into an opportunity? So I have a team of high performers, and I need to say to my team that it's okay. It's okay. We're in the business of modeling how we make mistakes. So if that was a mistake, I'm okay with it. I've sent flowers to team members before for making a mistake, because if we don't make mistakes, we're not growing, we're not learning. And I'm saying that so no one on the team, if it was a mistake, is spending the next hour judging or blaming themselves, thinking, oh shit, I screwed up. Nobody screwed up. There might have been the best insight anybody got from being on this call so far. Let me tell you my intention today. 4 intentions. Number 1, I want to share my passion for what I do and why I do it. I love it. I just looked down, there's over 300 people here today. And I'll tell you why there's 300 people here, because for 20 years, I've been sharing this passion out in the world. And there's a moment when it catches and people feel that. And I want to share some of that passion with you today about why I do what I do, why I'm still showing up, why I love what I do. Number 2, I want to tell stories constantly throughout, model it, just like I did. Some of them will be my own stories, but with this particular flavor, where the problems become opportunities. Number 3, I want to answer as many of your questions as I can today. I will filter. I won't answer every question. Some of them are replicants of other questions, so I won't read every question. Some may not serve in this context, but as many as I can, I want to answer. And number 4, I want to be clear about this. I want to make an invitation for those of you where it's right to come and join me in some of the ways that we work together. This isn't a pure Q&A. I'm leaning into one of my edges. I have built a word of mouth business for years. 20 years now. Literally, I started coaching in 2003. I started learning coaching skills. And I have built a word of mouth business. This year, maybe a bit of last year, well, the first I began to lean into doing some marketing for the business. But for almost 20 years, people came to me because they read my book or somebody told them about me. In fact, give me a wave right now. Are you here because someone told you about me or because you read my book? I'm curious. Yeah, it's almost everybody, almost all the time. And thank you for bringing it to the chat. That's great. And one of my biggest struggles, even though I've taught for years how to build a business by invitation and referral, I find it very hard to make those invitations to people. And I find it very hard to make referrals. And so I'm leaning into an edge here, and I don't want to hide that. I want to be as authentic as I can and be as real as I can. Okay. If you see me looking down, I've got some notes on one of the things I want to make sure that I cover. Yeah, look, 99% of the stuff that I create, I don't charge for. I spend hours every week writing 2 long-form articles, podcasts, videos, material that I put out to the world for free. 99% of the stuff I create, there's a masterclass on creating clients. You never need to pay me a penny. And I've always relied on, if you put enough value out into the world, it comes back to you. And it does. But I'm leaning to a different edge today. For those of you who are closer to me, as to why you're here, you've been in our Facebook group, you've been in some of our other programs. I want to give you an opportunity to learn a bit more about how you can come deeper with me on this, what we call our coaching journey. And it is a journey. All right. Let's pause there. I want to start with a couple of questions I've got to give some context for today. This is a question from Svi. Svi said, Rich, you've read a lot of books. You've been coached by some extraordinary coaches. You've learned a lot. You've trained and coached a lot of very successful people. You've probably done a lot more than most people are aware. What are the top 1 or 2 things that have contributed to your success the most? Great question. And the answer is one thing. I never stop learning. I did the math recently. I've invested over $1 million in my personal growth and professional development over the last 20 years. Traveled all over the globe to learn from fascinating people and never stop. I did the math this morning, over 100 grand in the last 12 months I have invested in my own personal growth and professional development. Never stop learning is my answer to that question. Huge amount of time, energy, money, commitment, focus into my own growth. So when someone's investing $185,000 to work with me, it's like that story about Picasso. Picasso's sitting in a cafe and a woman comes up, she sees him doodling on a napkin. She says, "That's beautiful. Would you do one of those for me?" And he says, "Madam, that'd be my pleasure." And he draws a little doodle for her and she goes to take it. He says, "Madam, that'll be $10,000. She says, "Picasso, that took 20 seconds. He says, "No, that took me my entire life." For those of you who are newer to coaching, this is a reminder that most of you didn't leave high school and become a coach. You had a career behind you, whatever that was. That's the background to what you do now. The line I use on my podcast is for most of human history, it wasn't called coaching, it was called leadership. And you've all been leaders in different ways. Tyler, will you just mute people who are okay, I got that one. But can you keep an eye on people's microphones come on? It will go green on the box. Let me ask you to put into the chat, how much time, energy, and money have you invested in your personal growth and professional development in the last 12 months and the last 10 years? Now, it's not a competition. We all have different resources available. Fascinating to see. In this community, it makes sense. Charmaine put over 100K, Shelley 50K, Monica 15 years, lots and lots of money. Mary 25K, Ariane 30,000 euros, Jason 20 hours a week, 15K. In the last 12 months, 16K from Yamato. Over the last 10 years, 25K. Yeah, there's a lot of you invest in yourself. You get this, which means you walk your talk as a coach. Most coaches don't. They wonder why they don't get high-paying clients because they've never invested a lot of money in their own coaching. And so people feel that discrepancy. They feel that difference. Let me tell you a story. It was 2008, and I'm helping in a group coaching program. We were coaching men around relationships. I figured I'd messed up enough of them in the early days that I could help guys not mess up. And I joined this group coaching program. It was an amazing group community. And I was being trained in these coaching skills. And we did a very unique process. We'd have 10 people in the room and at least 10 coaches. So you'd always have 3 to 6 coaches working with you at any one time. It was powerful. And I was being trained, which meant at times during the day, I would go outside to the back alley with our support team, and I'd coach them. And one day I said to this team, we were talking about what our frustrations were, and I said to them very honestly in the moment, I said, well, my frustration is I'm out here in the alley doing the coaching out here. Well, I want to be coaching in the room. And someone looked me in the eyes and said, "Fuck you, Rich. We're here now. We're here with you. And you don't even want to be with us. You want to be out there. How present are you with us? You could bring your magic here right now, but you're not even bringing that because all you want to be is over there." And I remember it to this day because it still cuts. It still burns. I'm still embarrassed. I've always been ambitious. How many of you know that you're ambitious? You always want something more, something bigger, something new, something next. And where's your ambition taking you away from this present moment right now? And I don't mean this with us but I mean, where are you not playing full out in this moment because you're always looking into the horizon? It's part of the gift of being a visionary. It's part of the gift of being a leader. We're always looking to the future. It's also the very same thing that holds you back. In 2008, I started working with a man who became my mentor, eventually my friend. Eventually we wrote a book together, Steve Chandler. Steve's retired now, but he used to run a coaching school. It was about 10 grand for a year. And if you've read The Prosperous Coach, you know this story. I haven't told it for a while, but I wrote to him and said, I just saw your article, Steve, about making bold requests. So I'm going to make a bold request of you. Let me in your program. I can't afford to do it right now. I haven't got 10 grand. If you let me in it, I'll pay you double at the end. I was really proud of myself. And he said, no. He said, I want the rich who can make the money first. And I was so pissed off with him. I really hated him in that moment. Like, dude, do you not understand? I'm offering you double. Best thing that ever happened to me. Because I went away and I did what it took. And I saved until I eventually had the money to pay him that 10 grand. And I went and learned with him in that course for 9 months. And things began to shift. I began to charge higher fees, began to enroll people in a group coaching program, began to become more successful. And then I did it again. I signed up again the next year. And the third year came along and people said to me, why are you doing it a third time in a row? You could teach this stuff. Because I was on the faculty of a couple of coaching schools at that time. But I knew at 10 grand, I needed one insight, one idea, one new client as a result of Steve's coaching. I've made more than my investment. I ended up doing that 4 times and hiring Steve as my coach. Everything began to shift when I saw the power of investing. I was talking to a friend yesterday about investments, and he was asking, where do I invest? And I said, I've got to be honest, over the last 20 years, most of my investment has been back into my business because it pays dividends. And I have seen friends who've invested in the stock market and all sorts of things, from crypto to you name it. And I've made far more because I invest here. That's not investment advice, but it's what I've found has been really powerful for me. Let me tell you a first story. When Steve and I wrote the book, at that moment, I'd been running group coaching programs for women. Because even though I started coaching men around dating, I realized I wasn't very good at it and not many of them wanted to work with me. But when I would say, people say, what do you do? I'd say I help men have more passion in their relationships with women. Turns out that women would always say, do you ever work with women? So sometimes actually when you get really clear on who you work with and who you don't work with, it's actually very intriguing for the people who don't fit into that group. And they'll say, well, do you ever work with me? And I ran a program called the Confident Woman's Salon. I worked with very successful, very powerful women for many, many years. When the book, The Prosperous Coach, came out, Steve and I began to run trainings based on this idea that we were teaching that was new in the marketplace at the time. Everybody, exactly 10 years ago, was teaching you do 25-minute taster sessions. Get their credit card out during the session and give them a bonus if they pay for you with their credit card before the call is over. Anyone been trained in some of those techniques? And it made my skin crawl. It was horrible. I felt uncomfortable doing it. I didn't like it. It felt like high pressure. It was high pressure sales tactics. And we began to teach this old-fashioned approach. Connect with people and give them an experience of you. And if they like it, it's great. If they don't, that's great too. Just keep serving. And I haven't stopped. I did that for about 5 years. I ran these groups for women, and then I ran these groups for coaches. And in 2018, I was talking to my bookkeeper, and she was telling me, Rich, we just need more money. You just got to make more money. Anyone know that feeling? If you make a lot of money, so you start to spend a lot of money, and then no matter how much money you're making, like you seem to be barely in pace with how much your expenses are. Anyone know that feeling? And I was there. It felt good. I was making more money than I'd ever made, but I was spending more money than I ever made. And I didn't know something was wrong until A, I had an outburst at her and got mad with her, and then B, started crying in that very same moment in this room with my wife and the bookkeeper. And I realized I was exhausted and burnt out. The trouble with this profession called coaching is it's a really giving profession, and you can give it all. And I had for about 10 years, I guess. And I was burnt out and I couldn't see it. You know what? It's like we have two oxygen tanks on our back. One of them goes up and down. When you coach people, you get energized. You know that feeling? Give me a wave. You know that feeling. Even if you're tired, you get energized when you coach people. So that tank on this side, it goes up and down. If you're tired, find someone to coach. It's called helpers high. It will go back up again. But there's another tank over here that you don't pay attention to. And it doesn't get fed that way. It gets fed when you nurture your spirit. It gets fed when you take time for you. It gets fed when you take time for recreation, recreation. And so most of the time we don't feed it. And it goes down and down and down and down until it gets down here and suddenly we're burnt out. How many of you came into coaching because you got completely burnt out from another field, another career? Yeah, usually it's about 90% of us come in for that reason. That hasn't gone away. You just don't see it most of the time because you're in a field that you love right now. But if you don't pay attention to that tank, you will burn out. And I burned out. I was exhausted. So I stopped immediately doing one of the programs that brought the most money into us. Couldn't do it any longer. I was burnt out. And we went in over $100,000 in credit card debt within a couple of months. I didn't realize how much money we were making, but I couldn't do it any longer. And as I cut that big part of our business out, money stopped coming in. And I put a little bit on a credit card, then a bit more and a bit more. And suddenly it was $100,000 in debt. I said to my team, I've got to make some cash right now. We're hurting. What can I do that will make some cash that's not going to take a lot of expenses? At the time, I was running big events with lots of people, and it cost me a fortune to put on a big event. My whole team would fly in. I said, well, look, I'm going to Estonia with my family. We're going to have an Airbnb. Why don't we just invite a bunch of people to come and hang out in the house with us? Monique and the kids will go out during the day. And that was the seed of the deep dive. What's the story I read to you at the beginning of the session? How do you turn a problem into an opportunity? We took that idea and called it the deep dive. We had 10 people come out and spend time with me. 3 days in my home. Coached them so powerfully, they talked to other people about it. And I loved it so much, we did it again. We did deep dives in Estonia, in London, in Croatia, in LA. And then lockdown happened. Stopped it for 3 years. After that, we ran 2 in Dubai and another in LA. And we've got another one coming up later this year in LA. I did the math the other day. We've made $1.5 million. Over 100 people have come through those, 10 people at a time. How do you turn a problem into an opportunity? So for those of you who are asking questions about what's the magic answer to this, the hard answer to that question is there's no magic answer. The magic usually comes when you screw up and you experiment. Has it ever dawned on you that the word experience and experiment are related? They've got the same root. Experience comes from experimenting, from trying stuff out, from seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work. So part of the reason I'm sharing my screw-ups today is to show you that the things you see on the outside that look great now usually came because I messed up, I screwed up, and didn't get things right. I love the deep dive. It's one of the most fun things I do. All I do is show up in a room with 10 people, coach my ass off. It's so fun. I'm doing one in October, I think it is this year, September, October this year, here in LA with a friend of mine. My buddy, Daniel Priestley, is one of the best entrepreneurial coaches on the planet. He wrote 6 books on entrepreneurship. He's helped build a number of unicorn companies. He's built 7 companies that have each made over $1 million within a year. And we're going to partner up and work with some coaches and leaders and entrepreneurs about how to take their business and turn it into an influential business, the kind of business that people knock on your door and you don't have to keep knocking on theirs. And all we're going to do is sit in a room, put you on a hot seat one at a time, share some ideas, and then a hot seat coach you. All that came from 2018 when I was struggling to make money. So Tyler, you can put that link into the chat if anyone's interested in the deep dive. We're actually going to begin at the Porsche driving experience, because one of the ways I invested my time, energy, and money last year was taking a Porsche out on the track. I had a coach, a driving coach. It didn't look like a traditional coach, but I got insights about how I show up in the world from how I drove a car on a track. And we're going to take you to a track. You don't need racing experience. You just need a driving license. But it's going to give you insights about how you show up. And the single biggest insight I've had from taking a racing car on a track is the very first thing that racing drivers are taught. Go slow to go smooth. Go smooth to go fast. Go slow to go smooth to go fast. They literally take the fastest cars on the planet and teach their drivers slow down to speed up. The lesson that's fundamental to everything I teach, the lesson I keep coming back to again and again and again. All right, let me take a few questions and I'll come to some of the other screw ups I've made and some of the stories behind them. So let's see. Ava said, I'm based in Europe. I've got a wealth management background. I work mostly with high net worth individuals who are quite conservative and may not really know what coaching is all about. Or they've heard of coaching and they associate the practice with something that's not very serious or a little too soft or vague due to the high numbers of coaches out there. Is there a way of presenting and pitching coaching services that would give it a more serious or respected image or tone? So the first thing I have to say is, will you raise your hand if you have a feeling that there's something icky about selling coaching, that it feels like some kind of pyramid scheme, that it's all about selling, there's nothing real behind it? Anyone have that feeling, that sense there's something behind it that they don't like, even if it's that you just simply don't like selling coaching? Charmaine, thank you for being so honest. I love it. Yeah, a lot of us have that feeling. So you got to find a way to get past that for yourself. And here's how you do it. The first sale is always to yourself. I just told you about the deep dive I'm doing in California with my friend Daniel. If not one single person shows up, I'm going to get to race a Porsche on a track with one of my closest friends, and we're going to then spend 3 days talking about entrepreneurship. You don't have to be there. It's going to be amazing. Like, do you get the energy I have? I'm not trying to sell you. I'm sold. The sale has to happen on the inside first. That's how you sell something. You make the first sale. What I do before I sell anything is I write a love letter. I write a love letter. Eventually, a love letter might become a sales page, but it starts as a love letter. I'm in love with this program. I'm in love with all the things that I create. If I'm not, they don't sell. The first sale is always to yourself. The second thing is, the heart of the Prosperous Coach book is one idea. Stop trying to sell the concept of coaching and sell the experience of coaching. Stop selling the concept of coaching and sell the experience of coaching. So you don't need to pitch your coaching, Ava, to these high net worth individuals. Get curious every time you spend time with them. Humor and curiosity are the two values that will help you the most in dating. And humor and curiosity are the two values that will help you the most in creating clients. Be with somebody and be genuinely curious about who they are. You know my favorite coaching question? Tell me your story. People always laugh. You say it at a party. Tell me your story. People laugh. What do you mean? From the beginning? I was a little baby? Yeah, from the beginning. Where'd you grow up? Where are your parents from? Where'd you go to university? What'd you study? What was your biggest struggle when you were 9 years old? What did you love to do when you were 10 years old? Tell me your story. Get genuinely curious about the person in front of you. At some point, not only will they tell their story to you, they'll say, wow, you ask amazing questions. Why are you so curious? You say, I can't help it. This is what I do. I'm in the game of personal growth and professional development. I'm a coach, and I'm insanely curious about the people I spend time with. That's how you sell to whoever you're with. You get curious and you serve them. At some point they say, well, how do I learn more about this? Well, would you like an experience of this? And you give them an experience. Let me pause there. Hey, Jerry, your last name's Emeka, but my best buddy at high school was Emeka. So excuse me using that as your first name. That's why that name means a lot to me. Jerry, if you can unmute. Your hand's up. It may have been left up from before, but what you got? Why are you here, Jerry? There you go. You're unmuted.
Oh, hi. How's it going?
Hey, man. I'm great. Where in the world are you, Jerry?
I'm in Hawaii.
Nice. Okay. I love the Big Island. Whereabouts on the Big Island?
South side. I live on this 23-acre tea farm with my family. Got the chickens, got the vegetables.
Nice.
We're growing tea out here. It's awesome.
Beautiful. I spent a lot of time in Kona, so I know exactly where you are. Hey, tell me, how can I support you best right now? You're here for a reason.
Yeah, I rose my hand because you asked us to raise hands. I wasn't expecting to talk, but man, this is a blessing. So thank you. I wasn't expecting to ask a question. So
let me slow you down. I get it might be a bit strange. We've got almost 400 people on this call. You don't know most of them. Like, holy shit, what am I doing? And now I'm speaking to Rich. I didn't know I was going to get called on. And underneath that, if you let that all go for a moment, it's just you and me. We're just talking. Like, we're two guys. Like, hey, my best buddy had the same first name as your last name. And we've both spent a lot of time in Hawaii. Just two people talking. From that place, what's going on? I know you're here for a reason. You're not spending an hour and a half, an hour with me for no reason. What's the biggest challenge you have right now?
Wow. I mean, I have a lot to give, Rich. I started my business 3 years ago, and as of literally today, client just hired me for the next 2 years.
Nice.
Paying me retainer for the next 2 years, which was a shocker to me. Like, that wasn't even what I pitched him. He actually pitched me. I was like, you know what? That would be a lot of fun. And I was just going through all the things.
So Jerry, can I hazard a guess right now?
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask everyone else, put your hands down for a second. I see those electronic hands going up. Let's put them down for a second. I want to work with Jerry for a moment. I want to model for you how I work in a group coaching program, you guys. There's a program I run called Project Kairos. And Project Kairos is a group setting like this where I work with people on how to build their coaching practice. I see you nodding, Eric. There's people who have been in these programs before and work with me in group settings. And here's the thing. People worry about, just give me a quick wave. I'm with you, Jerry. I want to ask some questions as well. Give me a quick wave if you run group coaching programs or you would like to, and what worries you the most is, how do I coach a group of people at the same time? Give me a physical wave if that worries you. I can coach one-on-one, but how do I coach a group of people at the same time? Yeah. Okay, put those electronic hands down, thanks. So here's how you do it. It's going to look like I'm coaching Jerry right now, you guys. And I promise you, whilst I'm coaching every single one of you, if you show up powerfully, if you pay attention. Now, if you're coaches, and some of you are coaches, most of you probably are, if you're a coach, you have a choice right now. You can have one of two hats on. You could put your client hat on and as I coach Jerry, yourself be coached by me. Just know I'm coaching you. It looks like I'm coaching Jerry. I'm coaching you. You can also choose to put your coaching hat on and ask yourself, why is Rich asking that question? What's he doing now? Where would I go differently? Sometimes people want to model the things that I do as a coach, my approach. And sometimes people want to question it, which is perfect. So Jerry, give me the single biggest question you have right now that's holding you back from where you want to go.
I feel overwhelmed. So my question is, how how do I release the struggle that I keep finding myself in when it comes to offering my service, so I can actually consistently show up for my clients, my family, and myself.
Great.
And also generate some income that I can rely on.
Yeah.
Because it's the 3 years to get to this point has been amazing. But now that I got this new client for the next 2 years and he's going to pay me monthly, I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to do this.
So you have what I call a quality problem. A quality problem is when you say your problem out loud and most people go, I wish I had your problems. Who wishes they had that problem that they just signed a 2-year client on a monthly retainer and like, oh my God, how am I going to handle that? Okay, put those electronic hands down. So Jerry, what that doesn't do is make this any less of a challenge for you. And that's why I'm going to work with you here, because a quality problem is a great problem for a coach to work with their clients on. How did you get that client? Was it a stranger who knocked at your door?
He worked with me last year. We worked together last year for 3 months, and then we were done. And then he literally called me out of the blue on Monday and was like, Jerry, I got to work with you again. And when we got to talking, he said, I asked him, it's like, are you sure? Like, it sounds like you're doing all right. And it convinced me.
So can I translate? Let me translate. I'm going to tell you guys what Jerry just said. It looks like the story he's telling. The story that I see from over here is this. You served one man so damn powerfully in 3 months that he came knocking back at your door again and said, I want more. And then you showed up from a place of, I don't need a client. Are you sure? I don't think you need this. You're doing great, man. And he said, I know I'm doing great, but even doing great, in fact, actually the secret is, Jerry, especially when you're doing great, as you're seeing right now, there are new challenges on the other side of I'm doing great. And it's a really cool place to coach people from. My one-on-one clients come into that category. Members of 4PC come into that category. The kind of challenges on the other side of success. So Jerry, you got to just do more of that. Find more people to serve, give value to them, show them that you don't need them as a client. In fact, almost push them away. You'd be surprised how many clients you'll have.
Yeah. It's interesting because I even found myself as I was asking them powerful questions. I was like, I really don't know we're meant to work together. Like, it clicked in my mind. I was like, Jerry, if you don't work with him, it's fine. He's doing great. And I was like, I can't believe you're pushing against him, like almost trying to convince him not to.
It's all right. Well, as Jerry goes off, let me say what he did is what all of you can model. I don't care how new you are to your coaching practice. Look, if you need money right now, if you need cash, you shouldn't be here. Go and get a job. Go and do something that will bring coaching money into you. If you need to sign up to one of those coaching agencies, there's a lot of them right now, like BetterUp. Sign up to one of them. You won't be paid that much, but it will take away all your money fears. Once that's been handled, then you show up how Jerry does. Serve people, create value, create massive value, and then convince them that they don't need you. It's very enrolling. I love that you've got a kid with you, Jerry, because for me, this is what it's about. I don't know about you guys. I've been seeing Alex Hormozi show up in my feed recently. Fascinating entrepreneur, helps entrepreneurs take businesses from $2-3 million a year to 10 million and above. And that's where I am. And it's like, wow, I got to work with this guy. Wow, that's exactly what he does. And I caught myself, Jerry. And I told my team that I'd caught myself because I want a lifestyle business. And what that means is this year, you guys, I've been open about this. This has been the hardest year of my life on a personal level. One of my sons had a stroke at 11 years old. The trauma that thankfully, he didn't go so much trauma. He didn't really quite get what was going on. And the neurologists have told us he's going to be fine. But that was so traumatic for me and Monique. Then my other son was getting bullied. We didn't know about it and has had such severe anxiety that I've literally been running my business sitting in the school playground at his school for almost 5 months. And thankfully, he's on the other side of that right now. But I had the ability to do that. And if I tried too quickly to scale my business, to make more money that I don't need right now, just because I'm ambitious, I'm always looking at what's bigger, what's better, how can I improve? I want the ability to have my kid on my lap when I'm doing a call like you do, Jerry, to be there for my kids. And I want to encourage each of you to be careful. Be careful. I've made this mistake. Again, where did I start with a story about problems become opportunities? I've seen the problems I get into and I'm too focused on making more and more money, and I haven't set my other criteria for success. I'll be successful when is a tool that I use. I'm successful when. I have an I'm successful when list, and it doesn't have money right at the top of it. It's got all sorts of other things, like I have time to be there with my family. Jerry, thanks for being with me, man.
Thanks for asking, man. I really appreciate you, and thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks. I'll let you get back to your kid. And I'll say to everybody right now, this is what we do in Project Kairos. Project Kairos started off as the Confident Woman's Salon. I worked with 10 women at a time. Now, be cautious. Let me read how shall I do this? Let me tell you the story, then I'll tell you why to be cautious. The story is I worked for years with 10 people at a time. I couldn't envisage in the early stages of my career doing anything but one-on-one coaching. That's like, oh my God, this is so powerful. And I was scared of doing group coaching. And I took this leap. I went into group coaching. And it turns out I loved it. And it turns out you're only ever coaching one person at a time. Put into the chat, what was the biggest insight you got from me coaching Jerry just now? Put it into the chat, every one of you. You see, I wasn't just coaching Jerry. I was coaching all of you. What was the insight you got, either as a coach or as a client? I was coaching you at that very same time. What was the biggest insight you got? Andrew wrote, trust yourself. Camille wrote, be excellent at what you do. Helen wrote, push them away. Mary, I want to create a lifestyle business. Margaret, confidence. Carl, a context of coming from that place. And Marcus, get out of your own way. You all got insights from that. Now, not every one of you might got an insight every single time I coach somebody, but when you show up in that way as leading a group program, I promise you over time, they're getting insights. For years, for over 10 years, I ran group programs of 10 people. And then I was tired and burnt out. And one of my friends he asked me, Rich, why don't you work with bigger groups of people? Why don't you teach as well as coach? And I said, oh, no. My former career was as a teacher. I'm not a teacher. I teach by coaching. But when someone asks me a question, I sit with it. And I sat with that question for 2 years until I realized, I can bring my teaching skills back in. And so Project Kairos now, I do a mix of teaching, a bit like I'm doing today, mostly teaching by modeling coaching or telling stories, but I'm teaching as well as coaching, which means I can run groups of 30, 60. When we used to run our intensives, we'd have 300 people on a Zoom call. And because I call you out to pay attention, because I call you out to listen for insight, I can hold 351 people in the palm of my hand. Because you're here and present. Can I guarantee everybody is? No. But you haven't invested any money to be with me here right now. However, if you listen to that distinction I gave you at the start of the call, and you're showing up as if you were paying $20,000 an hour to be with me, then you're still here with me right now, and you're showing up listening with new ears. So let me come back to the story I was going to tell. Let's see where that question was. I got it earlier. Give me a second. I'm trying to find the question. Okay, great. Steve asked me this question. Rich, the approach you teach around coaching via referral and invitation only is appealing to me because it feels less overwhelming. That's why Steve and I wrote that book. It's an old-fashioned approach. Connect with people, have conversations with people, create value for people, serve people. And then don't be afraid to sell, but sell by serving. But then he goes on to say, however, I see you creating courses, community, mastermind, blog posts, YouTube videos, and other content. It's confusing because these seem to be the things that work today. However, your book suggests you don't need any of it. How do you reconcile the different approaches? What do you recommend? I'll answer that question. The irony of writing a book 10 years ago about how to build a business one relationship at a time is in the world of coaching. I became pretty famous. And so I got stopped in a car wash yesterday by someone who came over to me and said, "Are you Rich Litvin?" Last summer I was in the Eiffel Tower and someone came up to me and said, "Are you Rich Litvin?" So I've become known in this world of coaching. And I got tired about 3 or 4 years ago of watching people who were not coaches teaching coaches how to build a business. Most of them are teaching you have to do internet marketing to get clients. You have to do SEO to get clients. You have to be on social media to get clients. Look, you can do that stuff. You just don't have to. And I didn't do it for almost 15 years. So be cautious about what I'm doing now, where I'm at the other side of looking at, I want to make a bigger impact in this coaching world. I love that 400 people are on this Zoom call right now, and I'm here for you. But I want to make an impact that goes out wider, which is why I'm willing to create all this material online. And I've been doing it, by the way, for over 15 years. I've written over 1 million words online. So when do you start that stuff? You can start it now. But know that most of you aren't going to get clients from a YouTube video or a social media post or an article or a podcast tomorrow. If you want to get clients in the next month, get out there and serve people, create value for people. In Project Kairos, all I do is what I did with Jerry in a group setting, is I coach people again and again and again in this group setting like this, and you ask questions in real time. Hey, how many of you know this one? I just spoke to someone who seemed like an amazing client. I gave them value. I served them. They said, "I'm in. How do I pay you?" A week has gone by. 1, they haven't paid me. 2, they're ghosting me. They're not replying to anything. Anyone know that one? If you don't, you'll come across it at some point. So I address real-time issues like that. There's no theory in Project Kairos. I'm actually teaching you the stuff that you need to know. And if someone asks a question that's not relevant for you now, I promise you it will be at some point. And if that's not relevant for you, how many of you know that you loved being in your coach training because you could watch great coaching going on? And then the moment you became a professional coach, it got really lonely because most of the time it's just you and a laptop and someone on the other side of a screen. And it was really, really lonely being a coach. Anyone know that one? That's why for years I've built community, because I know what it feels like to be lonely on the other side. Okay. All right. Hey, Penny, what you got for me?
Hi. Oh, I just heard myself in stereo.
Yeah, you've got an echo for some reason.
I'm going to turn off. Give me 1 second. Okay, can you hear me now?
Gotcha. Echo's gone.
There we go. Oh, now I can't hear you for some reason. Hang on 1 second.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you, Helen.
Give me 30 seconds.
I'm going to
ask my question.
I'm going to come back to Helen. I've muted Helen. Helen, you'll have to ask it in a second. I'll come back to you. All right. Let's see. Barbara asked a question in the chat. Rich, you tried different things, invested in new projects, not knowing what the results will be. Yeah, here's a hint. Penny, I'll come back to you in a second. I moved on to a different question. I'll come back to you. I got you. You're next. She said, you tried different things. You invested in new projects. You didn't know what the results would be. Here's the thing. You never do. The secret behind my business is one phrase. I've said it out loud before. I don't say it out loud very often. But here's the truth. The secret behind my business that I'm happy to tell you. Make shit up. Make shit up. That's all I'm ever doing. The problem is you see the things that have been successful and you go, wow, it's amazing what Rich has created. You don't see all the stuff that didn't work, which is why I'm trying to open the doors to show you some of that stuff. Barbara goes on to say, how did you feed your energy, hope, and resilience to keep going, not knowing for sure if you'll be successful? It's not easy. I won't kid you. The life of an entrepreneur is not easy. But if you want an easy life, go back and work in the corporate world. Go back and have a job where you work for an employer. It will look easier on the outside. It's actually not, because my soul isn't being fed. My soul is fed when I'm an entrepreneur, when I'm in charge, when I get to make mistakes and screw up. However, it's not easy. I just keep going. I couldn't stop if I tried. That's the answer to that question. Hey, Penny, what you got for me?
Hi, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm coming to you from Vancouver Island, and my question is this. The last 3 years, I've been out of commission, health, no details, but there was surgery and then a health issue and 2 concussions. So I'm starting over. Forgive me, there might be tears.
Yeah.
It's like a blank slate. And that feeling of I have no idea what I'm doing all of a sudden 3 years later has shown up. Although I know I have the skill, there's some recall stuff that's sticky. So my question is, with all of the knowing and all of the intel and all of the understanding, and understanding the insight that I even got when you were coaching Jerry, I don't think I have a problem, but I am stuck in swirling around how to start over.
Let me help you with this right now. And if you're watching this, pay attention to what I'm doing as a coach right now. And I'm going to ask you in the chat to tell me what you saw me do. Penny, first of all, I can't imagine how scary that was for you. I think those tears are close to the surface and you're holding them back right now because you're in front of a group of strangers and you don't really know me and it's our first conversation. But I can't imagine how scary that was. And to then have these thoughts about not only have I been ill and had to have these surgeries and so on, but like, what if I can't bring it back the way that I used to? I'm imagining that must be a little bit terrifying.
It's frustrating. It's nerve-wracking and it's frustrating. And the biggest fear is, when I don't have I'm very intuitive when I coach or when I do things, but when I'm not able to recall or that sequence in NLP or that thing I want to bring forward isn't there, that I'm going to just own it. I'm going to look stupid, or I'm not going to look as acclaimed as I know I am after the last 10 years of being in this industry.
Yeah. I'm noticing as you talk, like my heart is getting tight. My solar plexus feels tight. I feel nervous as you're sharing, like this energy inside of me like this.
It's where my nerves are. So yes, you're feeling right into me. Thank you.
Yeah. If we knew each other better, if we were in person, before we went any further, I'd say, hey, could I give you a hug right now? Because sometimes we don't need clever coaching. We just need someone who can see us and someone who can say, hey, there's nothing to fix. I'm just giving you some love in this moment. So virtually, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm imagining that this hurts. And I'm imagining that this feels unfair.
There are moments it hurts. There's no victimhood. I really don't see myself as a victim. And yet, I know I'm about to say the contradiction, there is a feeling of stuckness.
Yeah, I don't feel a contradiction. You don't show up as a victim. You show up as a really powerful person. I feel that. I feel you. And sometimes it's okay to say this sucks. Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a great book on how to build a business as a consultant called Getting Naked by Patrick Lencioni. And he talks about the 3 fears that sabotage client loyalty. And one of those fears is the fear of looking stupid. And really the answer to that question is to own it. And there's another great book called Rookie Smarts. This is a book about leadership. And this book, Rookie Smarts, the premise of this book is one of the gifts about being a rookie, new to any field. You doing okay?
Yeah, thank you.
One of the gifts of being a rookie is you don't know the rules. You don't know how things are supposed to be done. You don't know you're not supposed to do this or you are supposed to do this. So you do what you feel you should do. And it's very enrolling. It's very powerful. And actually, most of us who are very experienced in leadership or whatever career we're in could channel a little bit more of that rookie smarts because we've got stuck in, like, this is how it's done. And so as I'm picturing you going to the next level of your success, I want to be careful I'm not trying, because you're a smart coach and you'll see where I'm going. What I'm not trying to do is to reframe this. What I'm not trying to say is, you got this, let's turn this challenge into a gift. There's a place where that could be of value, but I know you could get there on your own. What I'm sharing is, when you bring that level of vulnerability to your clients, hey, look, I got 10 years of experience, but I'm leaning in a new way right now. See, the thing that really struck me is you said, I'm a really intuitive person. Intuition doesn't rely on 10 years of experience. Intuition relies on being here, present in this moment right now, with nothing else. That's all I got, me and you. 350 people have faded into the distance. It's just me and you right now. What have you got from what I share with you in this moment?
Grounding and the remembrance of no matter what has occurred, and whether I never spoke another word again, that I'm powerful and I can create the rules and have this blank canvas and color it any way that feels aligned, and I will attract exactly what it is. Those who want what I have to bring to the table, to be powerful, to their own leadership and their own ways of being in the world, expansively and powerfully, I can do this way without all of the minutia out here of how it's been done before, what other people are doing. So
yeah,
I get to trust that.
Feels really good on you. Like what you just shared is the premise of what got you here won't get you there. Now, you've been on a journey that we wouldn't wish on anybody, but it's got you there quicker. Me too. This journey, this year has been one of the hardest of my life. And the insights I've had from that, the learnings I've had from that have been very powerful. Can we mute Craig, please? Thanks. I'm going to pause there. Here's the thing about powerful coaching is, A, it doesn't need to take a lot of time, and B, when your client's there, I like to take them off the hot seat and let them simmer, and you're good to go in this moment. If I leave you with anything, it's I believe in you. I really do. I get that from just a few moments of talking with you. Thanks, Penny.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my question. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Namaste, everyone, for being present.
Hey, thanks, Penny. So, what did you get? Put that into the chat. I was coaching one individual. What did you get for yourself? Because it looked like I was working with Penny. I was actually working with all of you. Penny, while they're answering, you might wake up in the morning with what we call a vulnerability hangover. It's a Brene Brown distinction. And what Brene Brown says, if you don't wake up in the morning thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I shared that with all those people, I'm mortified, then you probably didn't get vulnerable enough. So you are modeling for your future clients the power of vulnerability. Good for you. Thanks for playing. Yeah. So thank you for the insights that you've got and the comments on what you saw in my coaching. The other thing that you get when you join Project Kairos and you work in a group coaching setting is you get to watch powerful coaching in action and up-level your coaching skills. Look, let me mention something else that I do right now. Early on, I mentioned in September, October. Oh, here we go. Hang on a second. We have been on the call for, let me see, just over an hour. And I said what I would do today is work with you for an hour, and then I'll go for another 30 minutes and take questions and play and see where we go. I'm going to continue. But what I invite everyone to do in this moment is to stand, to move, to stretch, to move your bodies. Like I can feel I'm on fire right now. I've got some more magic to bring you if you want to stay with me, but I need you here and I need you present. So do what it takes. I like that you stood up, Chrissy. That's great. Sandy, move your body. It's too easy to sit there, right? Nice one, man. Okay, and move, stretch. If you need to take a quick break, go for it. Yeah. And Penny, let all that energy flood through your body. You've got this. You're going to feel a lot, and that's okay. That's what it means to be present, to feel those sensations in your body. I'm doing this deep dive with my friend Daniel in October. I mentioned it earlier. Well, in 2014, I was talking to Daniel. We always play. I coach him. He gives me advice about entrepreneurship. It's been fun. And Daniel said, what's going on? We always get together in London, meet up for coffee, and he says, "What's your biggest problem?" And I said, "What's your biggest problem?" And I said, "You know what? I'm tired of being in rooms where people say they want to spend time with me, and it feels like almost embarrassing to say out loud, but when it's that phrase, when you're the most interesting person in the room, you're in the wrong room." And I felt that back in 2014. And Daniel was very simple. He said, "Well, why don't you create a room that you'd love to be in?" So instead of me looking for how do I get out of this situation? Like, why don't I create that room? Well, I won't kid you. It took me a year before I had the courage to do that. I was afraid to do this. And then I ran an event. And at this event, I said to my community, "Hey, let me tell you about this thing called 4PC. It's called the 4% Club. And it's got a double meaning because not just 4% is the top 20% of the top 20%. Some level extraordinary coaches. But in Stephen Kotler's book, The Rise of Superman, by the way, watch my energy. Can you tell? I'm telling a story that goes back to 2014. And I am sold on this story. If no one shows up to 4PC, I'm enrolled in it. The first sale is made. It was made in 2014. And in 2023, there's not even a spot available to 2024 right now. I'm sold on this program. The second meaning for 4PC. In Stephen Kotler's book, The Rise of Superman, he tells a story about athletes who surf the world's biggest waves or jump off a mountain in a wingsuit. They do things that are life or death, but they want to get better and better and better. And Stephen Kotler, who writes about flow, said to get into flow at that level when it's life or death, you need to push yourself just 4% beyond your current capacity. The problem is, for most people on the planet, that 4% is too big. For most of you who are here, for most of the people I work with, we're high performers, we're driven, we're talented, we're ambitious. 4% is too low. How many of you are always judging yourself for not doing enough? You should push yourself more. You should have done it bigger or better or differently. And you're always looking into the future for what's next. How many of you have that energy? That's what I wanted to bring to this community. So the way I shared it just now is interesting and it's enrolling and it's captivating. But in 2014, it didn't come out that way. It came out, I was all tongue-tied. I didn't know what I was saying. I was getting all mixed up. And I said to the group, "Oh, look, I'm really sorry. I think Monica brought my son out to put him on my lap while I was telling this story at this event." And I said, I'm a bit nervous because Kaleo's on my lap. Let's take a break for 15 minutes and we'll come back in the room. And when they came back, I owned a truth. I said, "You know what? I wasn't actually sweating because my son was on my lap, and I wasn't tongue-tied because my son was with me. In my mind, 4PC sounded amazing. And I've never said it out loud before to anybody. And I said it out loud for the first time, and it came out. It didn't come out. It felt awkward, and I was embarrassed, and I started to sweat, and I was hoping I could get you to sign up, even though I wasn't really sold on it myself. And at the back of the room, Alison put her hand up. And I said, "Yes, Alison," kind of relieved I didn't have to talk for a moment. Didn't know what she was going to say. And she said, "Rich, I haven't got a clue what 4PC is about. Still don't understand it. You've explained it twice now, but I trust you and I'm in." And then Mark was next to her and he put his hand up and said, "Yeah, me too." You know why they were sold? Because they'd been in programs with me before. I'd created enough value for them before. They saw I was doing something next and they wanted to be on the ride with me. 4PC is my 25-year mission. We are about to begin year 10. I've learned a lot in 10 years, but what I've learned the most is 11 years ago, I didn't know how to tell people what I was doing, and it didn't matter. So whatever you're creating next, it doesn't matter. Someone's unmuted. It doesn't matter that you don't know and it's going to come out messy and you're going to make mistakes. You've got to put it out into the world anyway. And if you want to know a little bit more about 4PC, later this year, we have something called the 4PC Accelerator. 4PC is a 25 grand a year investment. In fact, it goes up to 29 grand next year. And people have to make an internal commitment. They're in for 3 years. And on top of that, we don't charge. You have to invest about 10 to 15 grand for your travel. We just met up in Curacao. We're meeting in Lake Como in Italy this summer. We have group calls. We have in-person intensives. It's a big investment, time, money, energy. If you want to get a taste of that, come and join the accelerator. It's a virtual program for a week where you'll not only watch me coaching the members of 4PC, you'll be one of them for that week. I'll be working with you too. And whether that's a taster, many people it's a taster and they come and stay with us later in 4PC. For those of us who it's not, I'm going to be teaching you about thought leadership, how to elevate yourself so people are drawn in by the way that you talk and the things that you share and the ideas that you have. That's the 4PC Accelerator. Okay, let me slow down for a second. Hi, Helen. I see your hand is raised.
Hi, Rich. Hi, Rich.
Hey, what you got for me?
So I want to know, you shared in your post about this call, about people paying you $9,000 to draw their story out. And I want to ask you if you'll do that for me.
Well, I will if you pay me $9,000, Helen.
Right now.
But let me tell you a bit more about that, then I'll come back. So how many of you are really good at drawing out your clients' stories? How many of you are really good at listening to them and reflecting back to them things that they can't even see about their own life? Yeah. And I've experimented with that over the years. Lots of your hands are raising up right now. It's actually a real gift to be able to tell somebody's story back to them. If you listen to the early episodes of my podcast, you can hear me doing it again and again and again. And you can just listen to those and get everything you need to do it for others. It's not, I can't do it for myself. It's very easy to do it for other people. So that's the first thing, Helen, is go and listen to some of those episodes. You hear me doing it for other people. Number one.
I already have, Rich.
Yeah, great. So I'm talking to other people as well as you in this moment. So that's the first thing. Number two, I used to joke. I used to say to people, I would do it for someone on a coaching call. And I'd say, you know what? I should charge about 10 grand for this because you can create clients from that story for the rest of your life. I'm drawing out sometimes a golden thread that goes back to you being 9 years old and you're now 49 years old. And you can see, wow, when people say, what do you do? I can look them in the eyes and say, I've been doing this for my entire life. And one day it dawned on me, I got to stop joking. And I put a number on it and said, it's 9 grand. And sometimes people get on for 30 minutes with me. And I draw out their stories so powerfully that they've got all the value they need. So Helen, you're signed up for the 4PC Accelerator, right?
No, I'm in Kairos.
Oh, Project Kairos, that's right. Yeah. So I'll do that for you in Project Kairos, right? I'll model that for the community and we'll do that once Project Kairos starts. I can't do that for everybody, but I'll do that for you. You've been in some of my other programs recently. You made a bold request. I'll play with you on that one. And it might look for some people like, what, $9,000 for a 30-minute conversation? Yeah, but if you draw out somebody's story and they can articulate that story, they can enroll clients from that story for the rest of their lives. That's why they invest the money, not for the time. My coaching is not time-based, and neither should yours be. Hey, Vanessa, how can I support you in this moment?
Beautiful. I've been following you, it seems like forever. I found you on Mindvalley EverCoach. Your book is my Bible. I tend to read this over and over again. So
hey, hold that book up because it's the most common photo that people send me, that book with all the Post-its in it. I get that photo all the time. It's the most common photo.
Tons of highlights in it. It's yeah.
Thank you. I read a review online earlier this week. Somebody wrote about that book and they said it's outrageous. They charge $30 for this book. It's a bait and switch. How outrageous is that? And I've seen that over the years. You know, I make $1 from that book. The publisher makes the money from that book. I would sell it for $1 tomorrow because the more people who read it, the more lives I change and the more people come into my community. However, I used to apologize for that. People would say, oh, I saw your book as expensive. It's not me, it's the publisher. But a few years ago, I met someone, I was introduced to somebody and I sat down for a coffee with them. And he said, I saw your book online when someone introduced us, Rich. I went to look up your book and I saw it cost about $35. And I started to say, I'm really sorry it's so expensive. I only make $1. The publisher makes the money. He sets the price. But before I could say that, he said, as soon as I saw it cost that amount of money and it had that many positive reviews, I knew there was something special about what you were teaching. And that was the moment I stopped apologizing for the price of that book. If you're not going to invest $30 in order to get one single client for even $100, then you'd understand the power of coaching. So thank you for that, Vanessa. Sorry, I wanted to share that story. So what have you got for me? Give me a single question I can support you with.
Single question is, I'm pivoting to helping men in relationships shattered by betrayal. I, in fact, was betrayed. So I had been helping women for quite a while, but men had been gravitating towards me and asking all sorts of questions in my support groups, everything else. My resistance is that I'm not a man. So it's kind of, I feel like it's hard for me to, I can definitely empathize with the situation, but men and women handle betrayal very differently. So I always refer back to your book because you talk about, you know.
Hang on. Let me pause you.
Yes.
Remember I asked for a question. What's your question?
My question is, what would you suggest to tap down that little bit of imposter syndrome that's creeping in?
Great.
Which I've never had before, but I only have it based on gender.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the distinction I teach around imposter syndrome that's different to anybody else is stop trying to get rid of imposter syndrome and get good at it. Stop trying to get rid of imposter syndrome and get good at it. What if you embrace the fact, hey, what I do is help men who've been betrayed? Well, how can you do that, Vanessa? You're a woman. Oh, let me tell you a story. So when Monique and I got married, one of our friends was a coach around sexuality, and she was at our wedding. Monique's father is a professor of sociology. Education is important to him, the highest level of university. And he talked to this woman and he said to her, what do you do? And she said, I'm a coach around sexuality. And then he started to interrogate her. Well, what are your qualifications? What universities did you attend? How many degrees do you have? She got all nervous and tongue-tied. And afterwards, we were talking to one of our friends with her present. And she said, you know what you could have done? You could have simply said, hey, I'll answer that question in a second. But how's your relationship? Or no, but how's your sex life? Now, that's the question that you ask. You're worried about what are people going to think about me? What are they going to say? You don't need to worry about that. Well, what have you got to offer about this, Vanessa? How can you teach people about this stuff? You say, well, have you ever been betrayed? And if they say yes, you've got an interesting conversation. If they say no, what to worry about it? I'm not for you. Hope it doesn't happen to you. That's how you get good at imposter syndrome. You keep leaning into that edge.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Brilliance. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vanessa. So what I just did, you guys, I spoke a counterintuitive truth. If you want to become a thought leader, if you want to be known in the world, you've got to find things that most people don't say. Most people teach you. Google imposter syndrome. There's a million articles about how to get rid of imposter syndrome. I say, don't get good at it. Don't get rid of it. Get good at it. That's a counterintuitive truth. When you can start to identify counterintuitive truths, here's how you do it. Most people say ... The truth is ... When you can start to identify counterintuitive truths for your clients, for your people, for the things that you teach, people are intrigued and they're drawn to you. That's what I teach at the 4PC Accelerator, how to become a thought leader. And there's one example in this moment of how to do that. Yeah, Bill always makes me laugh. Bill just put into the chat, LOL, I coach around oral sex, mostly to women. There's someone who's speaking as a thought leader in an interesting and provocative way. Thanks, Bill. I'm glad you're here with us. All right, let's see where we are. Let's come back to some of the questions I've got on my thread here. Claudia said to me, I've been organizing in-person events with people because people are tired of doing Zoom after the pandemic. How could organizing in-person events be an option to strongly create clients at this time? So my red flag in that question was the word strongly. How do you strongly create clients? You don't. You create clients by serving people the best of your ability. The implication I got from the word strongly is that she's hoping that if she does something, it'll be the most likely to result in clients being created. I can't promise you that. If you want to learn internet marketing and you can build up a list of 20,000 people, you can do things like split testing. 10,000 people who come to your website will get the green button to buy, and 10,000 will get the red button, and you can test to see which button converts better. But when you are building a relationship-based business, one person at a time, one conversation at a time, you can't test in that way. All you can do is serve the person in front of you as powerfully as you can, and then serve the next person and serve the next person. And you have to be committed to be in it for the long haul. Okay, let me see what else I've got. All right. Hey, Michael, what have you got for me? Michael Marcinkowski, if I said that correctly.
Yes. Thank you, Rich. I have a question on referrals. So I get referrals, but I haven't asked for any before. So how do you ask your current clients for referrals? Like, how do
Great.
you do it?
Let me model it for you in real time right now, Michael. Hey, Michael, do you know any entrepreneurs who love what they do? They're passionate about business, making a difference, and want to be more widely known, have more clients, more customers come to them, really grow their business as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, sure.
Give me the first name of the one who comes to mind the most.
Tomek.
Say the name again. Tom.
Mhm.
Yeah. By the way, watch what I'm doing, you guys. If you need referrals, you'll model what I'm doing at some point. What do you love about Tom the most, Michael?
I think he's very like visionary person. So he has like big goals and he never gives up. So
Nice.
he pursues the goals.
Nice.
Yeah, he's very ambitious.
What's his biggest dream right now?
Probably to take his company to next level after the pandemic.
Do you know what the next level is for him? Is it doubling revenue, doubling profits, something different?
Yeah, probably like international expansion.
Nice. Nice. This can be an educated guess if you don't know for sure, but if you had to tell me, what's the thing that holds him back the most? What do you think is holding Tom back the most?
I think being too focused on money, like on the cost side, and yeah, not investing too much into the company.
Nice distinction. Has he ever had a coach before? I
don't think so.
Has he ever invested in his own personal growth or professional development before, either in time or money?
Yeah, I think he invested in the past.
Yeah. Based on what you shared with me, he's the kind of person that could be interested to come and join me for my deep dive. And that's a program that's happening later on in the year where I'm going to work with a handful of entrepreneurs, not just me coaching them, but one of the best entrepreneurial coaches on the planet, my friend Daniel Priestley, and I will be working together, teaching distinctions about how to build an oversubscribed business. Do you think that might be interesting to him, or you think like he's not ready to invest at this stage of that kind of thing?
I don't know if he's into this kind of initiatives.
Yeah, that was my sense. So let me pause here because I want to show you guys what I did. What I didn't do is say, Michael, hey, I'm running this new program. Who do you know who might be interested? And Michael goes, I've got some people I know. Well, look, this is what most of us do. We ask for referrals. Well, would you tell them about me? Like send them to my website or something, or tell them to call me. Or if Michael goes, yeah, my friend Tom, what we do is, will you email us? And then I get an email from Michael that says, hey, Rich, here's Tom's email address. What am I going to do? Email a stranger who doesn't know me and try and sell him something? So what I did is I had to make it real. So I thought about, well, I've got a program for entrepreneurship. Let me see if, and we start to talk about him. As Michael went on, my sense was, I'm not sure based on the problems that he's actually willing to invest in himself in this way. It may not be a good fit, but I wanted to follow it down the road so you guys could see what I did. Now, if at the end of that, Michael went, yeah, he's ready for the next level of investment in himself. And Michael went, I'll tell him about you. I would say this, look, Michael, I hate cold emails. I never do cold email introductions. Now I know a bit about Tom. If you go and tell him a bit about me and he's interested, tell him to reach out to me and to say that he's a friend of Michael's And I will tell my team to make sure we put him as a priority, that we have a conversation. And here's what I promise you, Michael. I will serve him so powerfully. I'll block out an hour for him, give him so much value from that if we never speak again, he'll thank you for the rest of his life for that introduction. And if it turns out he does the program with me, he'll thank you even more, but it doesn't matter. You see how I did that, Michael?
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. I'm torn in this moment. Let me just look at something over here. I said we run for an hour. I said I'd go for another half an hour if we had questions. There are so many great questions that I'm actually wondering in this moment, if I ran for 30 more minutes, would any of you be interested to carry on and I keep playing? I'll keep answering your questions, as many as I can. Okay. Samina and Sarah, I'm gonna, and Tyler too, these people on my team, I'm gonna keep rolling. So I'm gonna keep playing. Thank you for everything in the chat. So let me keep going, but let's take a 5-minute break. Let's go stretch, let's go move, so you can come back refreshed. Because remember, I said, if you'd invest $20,000, you got to get the most out of this. So you need to be refreshed. Go and stretch, go and move. Do not, I implore you, go check email. Do not, I implore you, go and check Facebook. Do not, I implore you, get on social media, because it will take you out of here. You'll be drawn out in a dozen different directions. You will show up so much more powerfully, and I've got so much more I can give in value to you for another 30 minutes if you're willing to play full out and be here with me. All right. I'll see you in 5. Well, I'll see you in 4 minutes, at 30 minutes past the hour, back at the bottom of the hour. All right. See you in a moment. Hope that's okay. I'm running long. Exclamation point. Sorry, Nina. See you in a bit. Hey gang, I'm back. I was just texting my team and saying, I hope you're okay with me going along. This feels fun. Like, I love to put this kind of energy out into the world. And here's the key. When you put enough energy out into the world, it comes back to you. Now, if you put it out from this place of, if I give to you, you owe me something, it's got to come back. That doesn't land. The universe doesn't work that way. So I don't know which of you are going to sign up for my programs. And I know that if I put enough energy out, create enough value, some people are going to want to do more. I've already seen in the chat, some of you already signed up for some of them. I saw Jules say she's in Kairos, looking forward to meeting anyone else who's there in September. So I'm putting out as much value as I can and serving you as powerfully as I can. You can see I can't possibly answer every question. And I'm trying to be here with you. Hey, Lucy, what you got for me?
Hey, Rich.
Hey.
My question is around my menu. So more and more conversations have been coming my way around music artists. And I have a menu at the moment for one-to-one clients. And the conversations I've been having are with artist managers. So whereas my one-to-one menu works for single coaching, I'm wondering how I adapt that to a conversation with a music artist manager who's interested in me coaching multiple artists. So I wonder if you have any insights around pricing like that.
So pricing or how you work with them?
Pricing.
Yeah. I don't often recommend this, but one of my very first clients has an interesting model for coaching. He's never made a proposal in his life. He'll practice the Prosperous Coach approach. He'll serve someone really powerfully. And then he says, if you'd like to work with me, make me a proposal. Tell me how you'd like to work with me, how often you'd like to talk, how much money you would need to invest to be fully invested. Because you invest too much, we both know you're not going to show up. There has to be a level where you're committed, and money is often one of those markers where we fully commit. Now, I didn't want to interrupt what I was saying so other people could get it, but I saw from your expression halfway through what I was saying, you got your insight, right?
Yeah, because all those conversations have been, the managers are coming to me.
Yeah.
Hey, Lucy, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah. How do you want me to work with you? Tell me what would work for you.
Yeah. And but here, remember how I worded it, and make me a proposal. And you can set some markers. You can say, look, one-on-one clients invest this kind of money. If I was going to work with a group, you have to bear that in mind. Like it would be silly to make a low ball proposal. We're not going to have so you can set some markers for them based on that. I think you got what you needed, right?
Yes.
So Lucy flew out to meet me in Dubai, and we spent time together at the deep dive. I missed you when you were here in LA recently. And I love how you play. I really do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lucy.
And to give some context as well to everyone, the music artist I'm talking about came from an insight you gave me in Dubai. And I wouldn't even be talking about this now if it wasn't that. So thank you.
Lucy, how much did you spend on the deep dive itself? Do you recall how much you spent?
All in all with travel, probably about 10K pounds.
So here's an example of value-based fees. Lucy wasn't paying me for all the time it took her to travel out here, for the hours we spent together. One insight, and she's now got a whole new level of client, a whole caliber of client, and more to follow as a result of this conversation. That's value-based fees. Lucy, thanks. Great speaking to you.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you.
Cool. Let's have a look. Who else is here? Hey, John, what you got for me?
Hey, Rich, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm on fire, man. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good. My question to you is, have you ever enrolled somebody and then thought, and they've signed up with you and then thought, how the hell am I going to coach them? Where am I going to take them? It's going to be completely different to how I've ever worked before.
Yep. What's her name? Can't remember her name. I've got three people who come to mind. Annabelle signed up as an apprentice. She invested $100,000. I changed the name. It used to be The Apprentice, but after Donald Trump's Apprentice, I changed it to The Protege. But for $100,000, I'll work with you for 2 years on every aspect of your coaching business. Only for coaches. It's called the Protege program. It's a $100,000 investment. Annabelle invests that kind of money to work with me. And then within a few days of signing up, her dad passes away. Her dad ran, I forget what business it was in. It was something to do with archaeology. Anyway, he passes away. She discovers that there's been something bad going on in the background, some embezzlement in the business, and has now to invest an entire year of her life, maybe more, in sorting that out. She decided, instead of quitting on the coaching, that I'd simply be her coach. And I coached her on that, and she created an extraordinary business behind the scenes based on something she had no idea what was going to happen beforehand. I said, look, I'm here for you. If you want to shift, it doesn't matter to me. You sign up to have me as your coach, I'm your coach. Wherever you want to go, if that's not building a coaching practice, I'm okay with that. Let's play. Elsie comes to mind. She joined 4PC. She was a high-level consultant, and she consulted at the White House. And this is the Obama administration. And she came into 4PC to up-level her consulting business. And she got this insight within a few months of being in 4PC. I'm here to step into my spiritual side. And her time in 4PC was stepping into her spiritual side. You know, I take that community of high performers in 4PC. These are people in 4PC, and all of us, including me, we want to keep growing our businesses, but it's not our number one focus. We're in 4PC because we have a big mission out in the world. There's something beyond just being great at business. And we never know what that's going to be. Sometimes we know when we walk in the door, sometimes we don't. So those are a couple of examples that come to me of clients who came in for one thing, we ended up working on something completely different.
I like that. Again, for me, that's what's showing up is just being present to what's coming and not rethinking, I've got to do this or do that.
Yes. And I want to hold you to one word that you said. You said just being present.
Yeah.
Not just being present. There's nothing more important than being present. I'm bringing full presence to everything I do today. Like, that's why you feel my energy. I know when I get off this call, my body is already so full of energy because look, I have 300 people on a call and I've been holding you all this time. I got to bring this level of presence and energy. But if it's one person, I'm bringing this too. So not just be present, nothing more important, period. John, thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, Sylvia, what you got for me?
Thank you. Hi, thank you. So happy to be here. So honored to be able to speak with you. I really respect your work. I'm so happy to be here. My question is this, niching, like niches, like, because I was just listening to you now when you said like you...
Pause for a second. Take away the context. Just give me the single question and let's see where we go.
The single question is, okay, I understand the importance of having one's own niche. I find it very limiting.
Sylvia, you're not answering my question because you're not giving me a question. You're giving me some information.
Okay, I apologize.
No need to apologize. I'm coaching you right now. Give me the question.
Do I have to have a niche?
No. So I'm just trying to be humorous by not following that up because I could feel you're like, what do I do now? He just said no. Look, Steve Chandler always used to say to me, look for a need, not a niche. What I say is the problem with a niche is that people, as coaches, we tend to look for demographics. I work with women in their 30s. I work with men who are in transition. I work with business owners who have a $1 million business scaling to $5 million. And almost every time I say to a coach, well, if you had, women in transition is your thing, but a man in transition came along, would you turn him away? Most of the time when they look for a demographic, we'd be willing to go outside that demographic. So you're not really using that demographic. It can be useful for marketing purposes. However, a psychographic is much more important. A psychographic is the mindsets for the people you work with. Look, I work with talented, driven high performers. I work with people who are, so let me ask this question for those of you who are in the room. How many of you does this feel true for you? That you are talented in ways that you sometimes dismiss but other people see. Anyone know that one? Someone's dismissed your own talent. Yeah. How many of you know that? It feels weird to say, right? You can feel lonely in the middle of a crowded room. How many of you know that one?
Yes, very.
How many of you know this one? That no matter how much success you achieve, somehow it's never enough. And if you were coaching somebody else, you'd be going, because you're not really chasing the right thing. But because it's you, it's hard to see. You never stop. It's ceaseless. Who knows that one?
Yes.
Yeah. So look, Sylvia, the reason you're answering yes to all those questions, the reason so many hands are going up, this is me. Your dream client is the person who looks back at you in the mirror every night. Now, I've articulated these things for long enough. That's why so many of you are here today. But that's a psychographic, and that's very powerful and very enrolling. So yeah, do you need a niche? No. Can you play with a niche for marketing purposes? Absolutely. If you want to, you can see how that works. But I'd say look at a psychographic and just put my name into Google, Rich Litvin, and the word psychographic, and you'll find what I've written about that. Sylvia, thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure. Let me ask this. Pause on those questions with the hands up. Can you guys put your electronic hands down for a second? Because I want to ask some specific questions that you might have for me around some of the ways to work with me. So let's put those hands down for a second, the electronic hands, please. Thanks. Okay. If you have a question about working with me one-on-one, can you put it into the chat now? If you have a question about working with me one-on-one, put it into the chat now. Any questions you have, whether it's because you want to work with me or because you're curious about how I work, one-on-one coaching, just put the words one-on-one and put your question into the chat. If you have a question about, well, Gonzalo wrote one-on-one. Yeah, then write your question. I want to see what the questions are. So put your questions. So here's what you have to do, because I'm going to give some different question stems in a moment. Put the word one-on-one and then write your question afterwards. If you have a question about 4PC, my community of high performers, write 4PC and write your question. If you have a question about Project Kairos, where I do what I've been modeling a lot for you today, where I work with a group of people for 8 months, coaching them how to take their business to the next level as a coach, put that into the chat. If you have a question about anything else around the ways to work with me, write that as a question in the chat. And I'll come to as many of these questions specifically about the ways to work with me as I can. Bishal, I'm putting your hand down because I'm going to come to the questions in the chat. Put a question into the chat if you have one. If I can, I'll come to it. All right. Asma says, one-on-one, how do you select your clients? Well, I call out my clients. I call out from the greatness from people who are in front of me. I create value constantly, serving in all sorts of different ways. And I don't need another client. So I show up here to serve. And if you're interested, we'll find a way to talk. I have the audition mindset. Look, I won't kid you. I'm in a conversation with someone about working with me from 47 grand to 185 grand. I'm human. It's fun to think about that money coming into my bank account. But I know I have to put that to one side, because if I'm showing up thinking, if I say the right thing, you're going to pay me money, I'm not being present. I have an audition mindset. I know if you're talking to me, I'm going to assume you need me more than I need you. So I'm going to ask you questions to filter. And I turn people away constantly who want to give me money if they're not right for me. There you go. One-on-one, Michael says, how long in time and how many sessions per month? Well, a thinking partnership is where I coach these days. I have found the high-level clients that I work with, the people who want to play big, don't need an hour of coaching anymore. When I first started coaching, I couldn't imagine coaching for less than an hour. Now, my coaching sessions are 30 minutes, and sometimes we're done in 10. Like you saw when I worked with Lucy just now. Within 2 minutes, she had her insight. I carried on talking to share the context with you, but she was already done. She got what she needed. Thinking partnership is 5 months, $47,000 for 5 months, a couple of calls a month for 30 minutes. Protege is $100 grand for a couple of years of working with me around your coaching business. And I have a concierge trusted advisory program. One role a year, one place a year for someone to work with me for an entire year. And I'm just there basically on call. You know, I have a concierge medical company that I work with. Once a year, Monique and I go for MRIs and CAT scans and blood work and you name it. And then I hope that for the rest of the year, I don't need them. But if I do, they're there for me. When my son had his stroke, they weren't just there for me, they were there for my son. That's concierge work. 185 grand, I have a concierge program for one person. Someone asked about a scholarship. I do scholarships. I create scholarships constantly on a regular basis. I don't talk about them. I don't do them for marketing purposes. I don't tell people about them. If I find someone where I think there's a way I could create value for them and they wouldn't come into my program otherwise, I'll find a way to serve them and create scholarships. Denise says, how much of my time is spent coaching one-on-one? Not much these days because I have one client who's like a concierge trusted advisor role. Don't have one of those right now. I have a couple of proteges. Sometimes I have a couple of thinking partners. Let's see what else we got. 4PC. Oh, so there's Asma, to answer your question. 4PC it's like a mastermind. It's a group of people who work with me for a minimum of 3 years. They make that commitment. Now, I don't ask them to pay up front. In fact, I don't let them pay up front for 3 years because I say, if you're not playing big enough in a year's time, I might not let you renew. Listen to that. I got someone who wants to give me 25 grand a year for 3 years and would be happy to pay in advance for 3 years. And I say, no. Imagine doing that. If you're not playing big enough in a year's time, I would turn you away. 4PC is a mastermind community. 30 people. We travel a couple of times around the world to meet up in person. We have group coaching calls on a regular basis. Some people come to every call. Some people come when they need. The 4PC Accelerator is a chance for you to get to know us. And you can come to that program later this year in the fall and be with us online and watch how I coach this group of talented high performers and be with us. They're also the faculty on that program. Project Kairos, Mary Kay says, how many people in Project Kairos? Project Kairos varies between 30 to 60 people. Look, I've held almost 400 people on this call at one point, now 300 because I run for 2 hours. I'm impressed. 250 of you are still here. I love it. All I do on that call is create value. With 30 to 60 people, if you're the kind of person who is willing to put your hand up, you'll find me coaching you and answering your questions again and again and again. And we use Mighty Networks as a way for me to answer your questions when we're not on calls. Plus, in Project Kairos, in the off weeks when I'm not coaching, every cohort we've ever had, people get together and support one another. And here's a tip for those of you who have group programs. Set that up from the get-go. I like to joke. I say 79.4% of the value of any of my group coaching programs is not from me. It's from everyone else in the room. I set it up from the get-go for the power of the community. Let's see what else you've got. Katrina says, why do I feel scared shitless to do one-on-one coaching? Well, I don't know, Katrina, but I have another counterintuitive distinction, and I call this one, a little scary is good. That's what I've discovered. I'm teaching that to my kids right now. Those things that scare you, there's energy in it for you. Corey says, would it be wise to join Project Kairos if I haven't begun a coaching business yet? Well, I won't answer that question because I don't know you to say whether it's wise for you. What I will say is, mostly it's for people who've already started their coaching business. However, over the 10 years I've been running these programs, the precursors of Project Kairos and Project Kairos, there have been a number of people who've come in before they've launched their coaching practice, and it's helped them launch it. In fact, when I look back, I apprenticed with a coach back in 2008, and I'd never had a coach before. I went straight to apprentice with a really successful coach. And I look back now, I sometimes, why did he take me on as a coach? And I realized, because I was ambitious, because I want to work with the best. And so some people do. You have to make that decision for yourself. Notice what I'm doing, you guys. I'm not saying, yes, Corey, I don't care if you're starting a coaching business, you should come and work with me. I don't know. Corey has to make that decision, not me. Amy says, 4PC versus Kairos. I can't afford to invest more money right now as I've already invested beyond my comfort zone. So the answer to that is absolutely not 4PC. If you have concerns around money, 4PC is not the program for you. It's a mastermind for people who are playing at a very high level where money is not the limiting factor. Often time is, money is not. Project Kairos, I've already mentioned that. You've got to decide if you want to invest to build your coaching practice. Let's see. Rebecca says, I've just had an insight. However I work with Rich, it will be powerful. I'll have a life-changing insight. I'll leave with more value than I invested. It's just about which offer feels good to me in this moment. You know why Rachel's going to get value from working with me? Because she decided she would. I heard that just now when I read that out loud. When I apprenticed, it cost me $50,000 back in 2008. I had never spent that much money on anything other than a house. I thought I was crazy, but I knew I was in. Sent the $50,000, and I woke up the next morning with this thought: holy shit, what happens if he's hit by a bus? What happens if he's hit by a bus? Like, I really had that thought, and it was a fear to start with. And then I got my insight. You know what? I have to get $50,000 out of this. It's not for the coach to give it to me. I've got to create that for myself. I don't care how he shows up. I've got to create that. And that's what I call out my clients. How do you create that kind of value for yourself? I'm going to bring my magic to the table. You got a taste of what I can bring today. Imagine this is one-on-one. It's just me and you in a room. You're going to sweat, I tell you. I'm bringing my magic, but you got to bring yours too. And you can call that out of your clients. Darlene wrote, she wants more details on Project Kairos. So I think my team have been putting these things into the chat. Oh, I see it. At 1:44, my team put some of the information, and we'll send you an email afterwards if you're on my newsletter. So make sure you sign up to the newsletter if you're not on it, because later on this week, we'll send some information out to you. Just go to richlitvin.com, and there's a sign up box there if you're not there already. Okay, Bishal, you're telling me that you're looking for your next mentor. Will I coach you through the year? I don't know. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching, you would need to read about it on my website, and then you'd need to send a message to my team to say, I'm interested. And they'll give you a series of questions to answer. Based on the answers to your questions, and I've designed those questions like a coaching experience, we'll work out whether you need to have a conversation with me or whether I recommend there's something else that might be valuable for you. Sandy says, oh, hi, Sandy. There's something extra you're going to do or give besides racing cars that's going to blow us away. What is that? Well, Sandy, not only am I going to show up and bring my magic, I've got my buddy Daniel Priestley bringing his magic. We're going to put you on a hot seat, and boy, are you going to sweat. So racing cars is the least part of it. We're using the Porsche brand as a way to illustrate what it means to be influential. One of the most influential brands in the world of cars. I'm going to have some fun racing a car and seeing what that gives you around insights about being an intuition. But actually, it's about how we're going to work with you on amplifying your influence. Let's see. Oh, Bishal, I saw your second message about what you're doing in your business. Again, Bishal, write to hello@richlitvin.com and say, Rich told me to ask you to send me some coaching questions to know more about how to work with him. Okay. Katrina, thank you for writing. The 4PC Accelerator was an amazing experience. Gonzalo says, in Project Kairos, do you get someone to follow up with you? No, this is you. You got to create this magic on your own with this community, and we've got to see what you create. It's your sandbox for making mistakes, for screwing up, and for doing it in a safe place. Rebecca asked when I'm going to host the next deep dive. I don't know. I haven't planned another deep dive right now. I don't know if I'm going to do another deep dive in this moment, Rebecca. Zane says, how do you get your first coaching client who pays you? Go back and read every article I've ever written, read the Prosperous Coach and apply it, Zane. Let's see where we go. Bill writes, thanks for this inspiration, Rich. I needed this energy. Sometimes I forget how this feels. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you, man. I always enjoy our interactions. At some point, we've got to find a way for you to be in a room with me, Bill. Asma says, which program would you recommend first to start coaching with me, Deep Dive or the 4PC Accelerator? Well, they're different programs. If you're looking at increasing your influence as an entrepreneur, whether that's a coach or another kind of business, that's the Deep Dive. If you want to learn how to be a thought leader, that's the 4PC Accelerator. Different experiences. Sheila wrote, I love the deep dive. I want more. What's the best program for me to hone my coaching skills? Honing your coaching skills is Project Kairos, because you will watch me coaching person after person after person. Not only will you see me doing this, Sheila, you'll be able to help. I'll be able to help you deconstruct it. Sheila, because I can see you nodding. Does that answer your question?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Cool. That'd be great. Let's see what else we got. In Project Kairos is an opportunity to ask questions. Yeah, that's all we do. We ask questions. Exactly. Bill asked, best forum outside of Facebook to host a cohort. We used Mighty Networks, Bill. There's lots of others, but we use Mighty Networks. Oh, Sarah already answered you. Let's see. John, Rich, I've been in business for over 13 years. I'm probably the oldest person on the call at 60 plus. Well, I wouldn't assume that necessarily, John. Bill's shaking his head. You're a retired Marine officer. What program, if any, would I recommend? I love your book and attended Steve Chandler's course. Keep doing this. You're awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. So, John, I think I'll use this to wrap, because I can end in a really powerful way with this piece, you guys. John, one of my clients was a former Navy bomb disposal expert, James Butler. James was in his 20s when he came to work with us. He joined 4PC, and about a year later, he passed away. He had a brain aneurysm in a swimming pool. It was tragic. Very sad what happened to him. But I spoke to James a few months before he passed, and I said, hey, James, I've noticed how many military veterans come to work with me, and I'm curious about it. Any ideas why? And he said, yeah, I know immediately, Rich. I'll tell you 2 reasons. Number one, you're a man on mission. And we know what it means to be in mission. And number 2, you're all about service. And if you're in the military, you know what it means to be in service. And I've never forgotten that. It moved me a lot. So I'm sending some love to you, James, right now. I feel you here in your presence. And I don't know how I can support you right now in this moment. I've been thinking about running a program for military veterans. That's at the back of my mind, and it might come out at some point next year. I don't know. Look, if you want to build your coaching practice, it's probably Project Kairos. It's the single best way to build a coaching practice. I will be coaching you in a group setting week after week after week for 8 months, answering questions, modeling coaching, sharing how to enroll clients, watching you make mistakes, seeing you learn from those mistakes. And that's how I'll pause in this moment. Here's how do we wrap, you guys. Put into the chat a single action you're going to take as a result of being on this call. You've been with me for 2 hours, those of you who are still here. I love that. 217 people have stayed with us. That's amazing. Bishal said, I'm going to email you. Thanks, man. Billy's going to contact somebody. Katrina's going to decide. Tasha's going to create a new event. Sylvia's going to reread The Prosperous Coach. Sharmeen, get out of my own way. It was great to see you here, Sharmeen. Sorry I couldn't take your questions today. Shirley, identify my opportunities. Monica, create my new program. Lisa, ask more powerful questions. And Sebastian, write a love letter. I can hear in my voice right now. I'm there. Like, I have given you everything, left nothing on the table. Couldn't answer every question, but that wasn't my intention. I'm here for you in all sorts of ways. For those of you who want to come deeper, I've shared them with you today. I'd love to go deeper with some of you. For now, let's all unmute and send each other some love. Bye for now, gang.
Hi, Rich. Thank you for everything.
So much, Rich. That was amazing.
Thank you for being so good.
So much value.
Thank you.
Just happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.